Is Anime Vanguards pay to win? Well, the short answer is yes. But if you want my personal take on it, I think that this game is probably one of the most free-to-play friendly games, at least in the tower defense genre, that you're gonna see like in a while. Like in terms of modern releases that are as big as Anime Vanguards with like upwards of 100,000, 50,000 players, I'd say that this game is relatively free-to-play friendly. Now, I know a lot of people might look at stuff like this and stuff like this and be a little bit, turned off from the idea of this game even being remotely free-to-play friendly. And I think it really comes down to, what do you define as pay to win? On paper, obviously, yes, this game is pay to win. You can outright buy your way to getting the best traits in the game. If you have the money to spend, you can basically guarantee yourself every mythic as well as the secret unit, which is the best unit in the game. So if you're just going by that, like, can you pay your way to be the best player in this game? You probably could, because in terms of, like gameplay skill, you don't need to be skilled to place down units and, watch them kill enemies. But I still don't think that this game falls under the pay-to-win category, and here's my reasoning as to why. Number one, this game is incredibly easy. You can beat the hardest piece of content in this game with only rare units. There is literally a YouTube video of a dude beating the hardest legend stage in this game with only rare units. And like, just that fact alone should tell you all that you need to know about the balancing in this game. This game wasn't made with the pay-to-win player in mind. What do I mean by that? Well, the fact that you're not going to drop hundreds of dollars on this game, the devs expected that. They didn't come in here and make a game that requires you to take a new mortgage out on your house just so you could be able to compete with everyone else. The game is actually pretty free-to-play friendly in terms of progression. Sure, you're not going to be able to beat the entire game as soon as you load in. You're still gonna have to grind for gems, level up your units, maybe get a mythic here or there. Even though they're not required, it'll make your life a lot easier. Having traits like having Monarch or mythical traits, insert any good trait, Deadeye, Ethereal, Solar, having those traits isn't the end all be all for Anime Vanguards. You can progress just fine with literally 0 traits. And I think traits like Monarch specifically aren't even that good. And that brings me on to my next point. Being a pay-to-win player doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have the best things in the game. Because yes, in theory, you can just keep dumping money into the game until you get a full Monarch team and, Alucard with Monarch and Igris with Monarch. I guess Igris is a bad example since you can't buy him. You actually need to grind for him, but you guys get what I mean, right? If you really wanted to, you could definitely dump a bunch of money into this game in order to get everything that you wanted. But even if you did that, there are some units that Monarch isn't even the best trait on them. And more often than not, Monarch actually screws you over in a lot of this game's content unless you're a leaderboard player. For example, if you're doing a shielded enemy modifier, and there's enemies spawning with shields up the ass, you have like enemies with 3 or 5 shields. Having Monarch is actually going to do more harm than good, because now you can only place 1 unit, and if that 1 unit isn't multi-hit on placement, well then you're just out of luck. You better hope that you brought something else like a support unit to actually be able to break those shields, or you're just going to lose. There's no way around it, you're just going to outright lose if you don't have a shield breaker. So that's one niche example of how this game is, relatively free-to-play friendly. Something else that I want to include while I'm on the topic of units: legendary units, epic units, are incredibly good. On release, Gon was out DPSing most mythics in the game because his passive was just really good. He got more damage the more units that were around him. So most players that just started the game only had Gon and a bunch of rares. So what did they do? They just placed him down, spammed a bunch of rares next to him, and now all of a sudden he's dealing mythic damage off placement, right? I think his passive got nerfed at the time that I'm making this video, but he's still incredibly good. And that just serves as a testament, like that's just one example, right? There are other legendary units that are incredibly good. Pain, one of the best support units in the game, he's only a legendary. Kizaru, one of the best shield breakers in the game, and he'll carry you through all of story, he's only a legendary. Goku Black, really good damage, good passives, he's only a legendary. And that applies to some epics too. Crocodile is arguably the most versatile unit in the game, and he is only an epic unit. So, you know, when the devs were making this game, yes, the mythics are really good. They're supposed to be good. They're mythics. But mythics aren't the best, you know, thing in every single situation. If you go into a Paragon run or a challenge run, and you're only using a full team of mythics, and you're coming in with no supports or no early game, no stalling, you know, you might screw yourself over because mythics are kind of expensive. At least for the economy of this game, and having support units is almost required if you're going to be doing some type of harder content by yourself. I'll use Paragons as an example. If you want to be able to beat the tier 25 Paragons alone, and you don't want to use support units, you might not even beat it at all, because support units are just that useful. Now there is the argument, oh, traits are pay to win, you can't even grind traits as a free-to-play player, blah blah blah. And you know, for now there are some avenues of getting trait rerolls without spending money. In fact, there are quite a few. Number 1, codes. Number 2, achievements. Number 3, Paragon mode. Number 4, the dailies and the weeklies. They give you some rerolls. And number 5, you do get like 1 reroll in the 30-minute challenges if it pops up. So, you know, if we're comparing this game to Anime Adventures, which it is heavily inspired by that game, so I think it's fair to make that comparison. Anime Adventures, you literally could not buy, you could buy, but you could not earn trait rerolls on your own. I think the main way that free-to-play players got trait rerolls was by buying the Battle Pass, because like, that was the only way to get a good amount of trait rerolls with spending the least amount of money possible. Calling yourself a free-to-play player and being forced to buy a battle pass just to somewhat be able to compete is crazy. So like, if we're looking at it in retrospect, right? Anime Adventures was 100 times more pay to win than this game ever was. And the people that are complaining about this game being pay to win, I really don't know what they were hoping for. Because most of the people that play this game are old Anime Adventures players that miss Anime Adventures. So if you wanted an Anime Adventures type game, why would you even get mad if the trait system is remotely similar to Anime Adventures? In fact, this trait system is 10 times more fair because you can actually grind things as a free-to-play player. Obviously, you're not guaranteed to get Monarch, Monarch, Deadeye, Ethereal, Solar. You're not going to be guaranteed to get these super duper rare traits, but you'll still be able to pull something decent. You know, with all the traits that you grind as a free-to-play, you're more often than not going to get yourself at least a legendary trait, or maybe some good damage trait, marksman, blitz, something like that, you know. It's not going to be a complete waste is what I'm trying to say. So, in the end, do I think this game is pay to win? Absolutely not. This game is incredibly easy. There is some degree of strategy to it, albeit not that much. But the passives and different unit abilities, as well as the fact that the game's balancing is pretty, it's pretty good right now. The enemies aren't too strong. The units don't do insane amounts of damage. That's another thing that I like about this game. We're going a little bit off topic, but I like the fact that even the best units in the game only do 50 or 60k damage. Because although that doesn't seem like a lot for anime tower defense numbers, I really don't like it when a game turns into a damage simulator. And I'll use ALS as an example. ALS feels like a damage simulator. That's not to say that the game isn't good. I enjoy the game. I play the game a lot. I have lots of videos on that game. But the game just feels like a damage simulator. Because everyone's walking around with Overlord, Liched, Avatar, and all of your units are doing 20, 30, 40 million damage. And if you're not dealing insane amounts of damage, it just feels like you're not viable at all. Your team just feels like it's worthless because everything in that game has been balanced around people having overpowered traits. And although, that's good for some players, it definitely gives into that power fantasy of having super duper strong anime units and you have a super meta team that can wipe out anything, it also really trivializes the game and undermines a lot of the quote-unquote difficulty that in tower defense quote-unquote is trying to bring. Part of the tower defense genre that I think a lot of anime tower defense games completely ignore is the strategy aspect. And as far as anime tower defense games go, Vanguards definitely has the most strategy out of most TV games that I've seen. And strategy also translates to, oh, my Discord, not yours. Sorry about that. Let me just mute Discord. Anyways, what was I talking about? Strategy equates to the average free-to-play player being able to compete. Because if you know what you're doing, you're going to be able to beat you're going to be able to beat all of the content in this game. If you just take some time to learn the game, learn the mechanics, learn what the units do, as long as you know you're not rocking level 1 units straight off the banner, you're going to be able to beat everything in this game. And that fact alone just makes the game free-to-play friendly to me. I don't think this game is pay to win at all. Okay, maybe not at all is a stretch, right? Traits are obviously pay to win. So is summoning because you can buy gems. But the game also mitigates this by the fact that you can just straight up macro for gems and like not rerolls, but the devs did say that they're going to be adding an avenue of grinding out rerolls as a free-to-play in the next update, which is pretty soon at the time that I'm making this video. It's probably going to be like next week, like a week from now. But what I'm trying to say is gems aren't really an issue because you can macro for them. Leveling up units is a bit of a slog, but it doesn't matter because you can macro for that too. The only thing that you really can't get super easily is rerolls, but again, I'm not going to be super duper critical on a game that released less than a week ago. They still have a long way to go. They have a lot of improvements and changes and game modes to add. So before I can really start diving into that side of the game, I'll give it some more time, right? I think it's fair to say that. But what am I going to end this off with? Is this game pay to win? Not really. By literal standards, is it pay to win? Yes. But by most people's standards, like the average player really wouldn't think that this is pay to win, because you can actually still have fun and you can still progress just fine without spending a single dollar on this game. And I think that's really the side that I lean towards. I haven't spent that much money on this game. I've only bought the VIP Game Pass because I wanted the reduced prices for the banner. Other than that, I have not spent a dime on this game. I haven't bought rerolls, I haven't bought gems. Everything that I've obtained in this game, I've gotten it just by playing the game. And I'm not the only one that sees it that way. Most people obtained everything that they have just by grinding it out. You know, setting up a macro overnight, you don't really need to spend any money. And I think that's it from me. It's really all I wanted to say. If you guys enjoyed the video, learned anything new, or like to hear me talk about the game, feel free to like, sub, comment. Oh, there's something in my throat. A lot of people keep asking me what game am I playing in the background. It's called Main Character Arena. I'll put it in the description and I'll put it in the pinned comment if you guys want to go try out the game yourself. I personally really like it. It's my favorite Battlegrounds game on Roblox just because, I don't know, I like it. It's just like this indescribable thing. I don't know how to put it into words. I just have fun on it. And with all that being said, thank you for watching. Have a great day or night wherever you are, and we'll catch you in the next one.